In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you some very special long coins, some very special altcoins that I am long on. There we go. A good start to the video, right? So the altcoins that I want to be focusing on primarily are Solana. I also want to take a look at Bonk and how this relates to Bitcoin, because well, hopefully it goes without saying, if you don't know now, you know, when you're trading altcoins, you have to have a very special eye on Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is highly correlated to these markets. If Bitcoin is dropping down to support and looking for a bounce, that is the prime opportunity to long altcoins. Why? Because let's say Bitcoin and the altcoin, they line up with technical analysis at a support zone. If they come down to their support zones, and you could be looking for then, let's say, a 10% bounce on Bitcoin. A lot of the times, if that altcoin is also at a strong support, would be getting a 50% bounce to the upside. So the bounces are a lot stronger, again, generally speaking, on these altcoins. And just as to the downside, if Bitcoin pulls back 5%, that altcoin could be pulling back 15%. So, you know, ebb and flow of the market, you got to be very careful. So I want to be sharing with you, Solana, or giving you an update on Solana, because I've talked about it, of course, here before. But, you know, the long trade that I'm in from $100, I bought 100 Solana at $100. You can see profit here of $3,800. So have a guess. That's a 38% bounce to the upside on Solana. This is a non-leveraged trade, and I'm actually long on Solana on several different accounts right now. This is the one that I will be sharing with you today, this account. And so the trade has gone very well, but no, we're now reaching this $140 zone. You know, for me, $142 key, but nevertheless, we're in this $140 resistance zone. You know, is this the end of the move? And it is down from here to new lows, or can Solana, as well as Bitcoin, keep the strength, breach new highs? And we're in the start of an alt season, my friends. Take that with a pinch of salt, right? I'm never a guy that's going to be shilling alt seasons. But yeah, we can make profits on the alts, but let's just take them all individually, right? So yeah, I'll be going through that. Bonk and Bitcoin. Well, I will go over Bitcoin very briefly, because I want to focus on the altcoins, because really for me, nothing has really changed here on Bitcoin. You're actually looking here at the past 7 days of price action. So you can see here, we're back on Saturday, and surprisingly, actually, from last Saturday to now, today, being a Saturday, we're actually 0.2% away. So in the past week, prices almost done nothing. And I honestly feel that over this past week, from last Saturday to this Saturday, you've had one trade, which I would say was not even an amazing trade, but you had a swing failure pattern of what was the previous high. Okay, you had this swing failure pattern here. So over the past week, you've had one acceptable trade. I did not take that short trade, by the way, but nevertheless, it was the one and only trade that I feel was, you know, a decent probability, let's just say that. Apart from that, I feel you've had nothing on Bitcoin. And so it's like I was saying over on Twitter, or X, however you want to call it now, yesterday. And by the way, if you're not following me over there, you know, go give me a follow, because I'm actually really enjoying posting there. And I'm a lot more active there than I am on YouTube nowadays. So, but nevertheless, I was saying yesterday on X, you know, you do not want to, like, quote unquote, waste your time trying to trade Bitcoin right now. Okay, it's a very, I want to say, choppy, not even a choppy market. It's just super low volatility. And with that low volatility, low volume is low trading probabilities. So you're not having any amazing trade setups over the past week. Okay, so for me, you have two options. Number one option is fairly obvious, and that's set your alerts at your key levels and go away, do something else. You know, obviously as traders, well, I speak for myself, but I can easily spend 10 to 14 hours a day on the charts, just analyzing setups, keeping myself up to date, you know, refining the edge, you know, driving those statistics and doing your journaling. But, you know, there's a long time to be spending at the computer. And so with that, you know, of course, you can find that balance and recognize, okay, the market is so low volatility right now. You know, having that balance, I'll go spend some time with the family, you know, touch some grass. Or alternatively, the second thing that you can do is if Bitcoin is clearly very low probability trades, low volatility, low volume. You can look at other markets, be that, the stock market. You can try in commodities. Gold right now is just insanely strong. That has just gone, crazy. But you can look at some commodities, or I know what you all want. It's the altcoins, right? Altcoins. There's two main times when I would look at longing altcoins, and that is when Bitcoin is in the sideways ranges like it is now, so it's a prime time to trade alts, or like I mentioned at the start of the video, when it's dropping to major support, when altcoins are dropping to major support at the same time as Bitcoin, and well, that's when I love to trade altcoins. And this is a long on Solana, of course, from $100, and that's when Bitcoin was bottoming out, well, from its current lows anyway, down here at $75,000. So I did not long Bitcoin at $75,000, but I did get into Bonk, and I did get into Solana across several different accounts at the very lows. And I am now since on a long on Bitcoin from $79,000 as well. So, it's getting those opportunities. And so, let's go over to Solana. Let's cover what we're looking at and, answering the question of the main focus of the video of is Solana pump over and it's down from here. I know some people are going to be in camp. I want it to be over because I want a long Solana. I missed the long. I want to dump, and the other people, happy in longs looking for higher. But we'll approach it from a non-biased perspective and simply go over the highest probabilities. So we're going to jump over to Solana here when I find it. Here we go, Solana. We're using the Bybit chart here, and we're going to come out to a daily time frame perspective. You can actually see this was a setup that I shared actually nearly 2 weeks in advance to the champion members. So if you missed Solana, well, you miss being in the champions group, because this was shared in the Discord. You can see back in March, yes, weeks ahead of the setup, sharing the level that we're looking for, and that was the monthly at $96. That was shared in the Discord. I've done several live streams also talking about Solana and the importance of taking out $100. Even, to be fair, when I got into that long originally, with my patience pay off on Solana, this was a few weeks ago, posted, actually 10 days ago, posted on X. And I remember I've posted on X about waiting for Solana to go below $100, and that's why it was trading at over $150. I was very, very, very patient on Solana, and love to see this guy, mate. My ex-post sealed the deal with yippee 10 days later, and that's just gone leaps and bounds higher and higher, right? So also this one made me laugh. Where was that post? This one, where will my patience pay off on so on. This is where text-to-speech fails, by the way. A lot of my stuff is text-to-speech, and when I say patience, it doesn't know which patience I'm on about, but hey, that's the wrong one. We paid off with the right patience eventually on Sol, bringing that from $100 to $140. So anyway, what are we looking at next? But just to say, this setup was shared very much in advance to the champion members, where we knew exactly what we were waiting for from the Discord, from the live streams. And if you want this type of information, weekly altcoin streams or daily streams covering crypto, right, then you can get that from the champions group in Chart Champions via chartchampions.com. We got the whole educational library here. You will learn everything that you need to learn how to trade. You've also got a wonderful trading community active all day, every day of the week on Discord. So if you want that one-stop shop for all of your trading needs, you just got to check out Chart Champions. And hey, you can also be looking to take trades like this, absolutely nailing the bottom of several different altcoins. So where are we looking at next on Solana then? So we've got the long trade. So just to give you a little bit of an overview, for me, this long trade was simply based off of two factors. It was based off of the importance of taking out $100 psychological. Okay, because for me, that is a very, very massive factor. The $100 psychological level, right? We've been 1 year trading above $100, right? We can see from the past year within this range, we went up to $200. We come back down to around $110. We went up to $300 before coming back down. And at this point, I'm just thinking, over the past year, I've been thinking, sooner or later, this is going to take out that $100 psychological. I just do not feel that major liquidity bill will not be breached and tapped. So it's a game of patience, of course, but for me, the biggest factor of this trade was the $100 psychological, and then it came the wonderful confluence that you had with a monthly level just below 100 psychological, and that's where we got that big importance, taking out $100 onto the monthly, which is giving me my entry trigger, the reaction off the monthly. I will actually show you down here on a 5-minute chart. Okay, 5-minute chart. Look at this, my friends. You couldn't ask for more. Come down into that level, bounce from the level, and then you can actually see here a bounce from the level, back test of the level. Okay, you see that perfect back test. And then from there, you've got a 5-minute market structure change, low, high, higher, low, higher, high. You've just got a lot of opportunity, you know, and it's not exactly like it's tight. You've got an easily nearly 24 hours, you know, from the low to be put into here. Oh, sorry, 5 hours. Maybe I was overestimating that. You had 5 hours. Forget I'm on a 5-minute chart there, my friends. I'm used to the higher term timeframes now. But you had 5 hours to get into a long trade. You can see my long wasn't at the absolute low. It's just over $100, right? So, you know, it just goes to show you don't need to nail the absolute low, but you do need to take, you need to execute when the time is there. Okay, you've had the 5-minute market structure change. You've had the bounce from the support. At that point, if you are hesitating, it's only going to be down to two factors: lack of experience, or alternatively, too much bad experiences. So you have the trader that, you know, stumbles because they got analysis paralysis. They don't know whether to take the trade, you know, lack of experience, or the trader that's been beat up so many times through so many losses. When they finally get that good trade set up, they hesitate, they don't take it. And then they regret it, and you know, they're stuck in a very bad cycle. And we can help you get out of that cycle if you are in it. But that would be the main two reasons why people would not take that long when you're ready and waiting for it for several weeks, months, even a year waiting for $100. When it hits, you know, people thinking, oh, it's going to go lower, it's going to go lower, oh, I don't want to long it yet. You know, the opportunity is staring you in the face, it's there, the reaction is there, everything is needed to take the long, but, you know, they just have to think, oh, you know, I'm just going to wait for a little bit lower, and guess what, the lower doesn't come, right? But, you know, that's the importance of having to plan, because without a plan, you know, I wouldn't have took that long, of course. So, and from here, we've had the most perfect bounce ever. So here on the 4-hour chart, you can see a lovely wick down, close back above. You know, 4-hour chart I love to look at, and that's a wonderful close on the 4-hour. And of course, likewise on the 30-minute chart, wonderful wick down below, close above. So my two favorite time frames there, 30-minute, 4-hour, just no hesitation can be afforded. And the reaction that we've had is absolutely outstanding. From the overall low to high, that's a 45% bounce to the upside. So what resistance are we coming into now? Well, we've got the point of control just above us there at 140, you know, give or take a few dollars, right? 142, 145 dollars coming up. So this is a major level within a range. Okay, point of control is very significant. Likewise, the downtrend anchored VWAP very significant. You see they're both lining up. Again, this is time dependent. So I will always say with these anchored VWAPs, this is going to take, you know, if this, for example, this takes a few days to come up to that level, and then this takes a few days to come down to that level. Well, that's where then you have that epic confluence, right? So I would say, oops, Solana. Yeah, Jasmine also having a massive bounce, by the way, but we're focusing on Solana for now. You know, if this takes a few days and it's above $150, you could have this trade setup where you look to take out that highs above $150 and then get that reaction. So, you know, my eyes are drawn towards the high there, the downtrend anchored VWAP and that point of control zone. And that's really stemming from 142 without the anchored VWAP confluence to, you know, well, currently 157, but every day that's coming down lower. So if that lines up at around 150, you know, $153, we can be taking out that high, hitting that downtrend anchor VWAP and getting a pullback. So I'd be saying for strength, we need to see a reclaim of currently 157, but again, that's making its way down. If we can get the reclaim of that, you know, I would be under the thought process of this is so bullish, so bullish, and we can be looking for extreme moves to the upside on Solana. Yeah, for me, that would be absolutely massive. So a reclaim currently of 157 would be for me just so bullish. I'd be very happy to say that. Alternatively, right, I'm not getting too carried away or too bullish because, yeah, wonderful move to the upside. I'm not closing the trade. I'm not taking any profits. So what I will do is trail stop loss or look to take out a smaller percentage at around 150 just above if we get the bearish reaction. Or I will take a hedged short at that level and then wait for it to play out if I get stopped out the long or stopped out the short. But yeah, I think 150, well, currently 150 to 157 is absolutely massive. And I'm not getting carried away saying, yeah, we're definitely going to get an extreme pump next because, well, I recognize we got this key resistance coming down and looming just above us. Very similar to Bitcoin when you think about it, around, you could say the biggest resistance here on Bitcoin sits at $92,000 to $96,000. But I believe if Bitcoin goes from 85 to 96, Solana is going to be trading higher than 150. So something to bear in mind. But if Bitcoin does have this space to breach up, then you would be looking more at that rejection around $90,000, I would say, if it lines up with Solana around 152. So I'd keep my eye on Bitcoin for sure. At those key resistances. Of all the resistances, the biggest confluence sits at 96, right? 92 is the major major fake out zone, and $90,000 would simply be your value area low rejection. So you got 3 key levels on Bitcoin lining up, of course, but Solana, you just got one, in my opinion, and that's this $150 zone with the downtrend anchored VU up highs from previous 25th of March, is where my eyes are drawn towards. In terms of, long trade opportunities, you could look at it in a similar fashion, and where weakness comes is generally, your best opportunities. And so my eyes would be drawn towards around this $120 on Solana. That's where you got a very similar type of setup with this making its way up right into the local range point of control. So if you are to get a setup like this would be my number one opportunity, I would suppose. If it comes down and then down like this, well, you then have a short trade locked in from the high. And you can look to, well, of course, I'm already in a long, but look to compound again a long from the low. And then at this point, let's say you trade back up to here, you have a short from the high, a long from the low. You just wait patiently for it to do one of two things. Pump above the high, you get stopped out of your short, you let your long run, or you form a bit of a triangle and you dump and you get stopped out of your long, you let the short running. I always love to be in an opportunity and a trade where I have a short from the high and a long from the low, and we're trading back around the middle zone, because I know I win whatever happens next. If we dump, I get stopped out my long, my short runs for more profits. If we pump, I get stopped out of the short and I let my long run for more profits. It is the number one position to be in. You can be in that position, but it requires 2 key factors. Number one is a lot of patience. You never just enter a long and a short at the same price. That's barbaric and a very, very, very bad idea. But you wait for price to drop down to support for your longs, and then you wait for price to rise up to resistance to your shorts. And you can see here very, this is extreme transparency. Bybit has a place marker on the chart wherever you enter a buy and a sell order. So you can see when I bought at $100 here, we'll even do a refresh for all the skeptics. When you buy, you get this nice little B. And you can see I have not taken a single dollar of profit during all of this rise. I have not taken a single short during all of this rise. Okay? There's a lot of people that will take their trades, they will deceive you, they'll only show the winning trades, they'll do a lot of hiding, a lot of fakers in this space. But you can see here, honestly and transparently, I planned the trade weeks in advance, gave it to the Discord, showed it on live streams. That's the level I'm ready and waiting for. And since there, that's the one level that I longed. I took no profits. I've taken no shorts, no hedging, because I knew that none of this is resistance. That's a 45% pump to the upside. And I've just been calmly, collectively following my plan, very high probability trading plan. I'm not getting scared. I'm not getting fearful. I'm not getting overexcited. I'm not getting overly bullish. And I'm not getting bearish when not needed. A lot of people, they get themselves into a nice long trade And then they will end up shorting so much of the rally and just thinking, oh, it's a head short, I'll get stopped out. Oh, it's a head short. Oh, it's a head short. Oh, it's a head short. Oh, it's a, and then the $3,800 profit turns into, $500 profit because of all the shorts that they've unnecessarily taken during the whole rise. So, this is why I do these videos, because I teach from experience. I've done all those mistakes. I mean it. Every mistake that you can think of, I've done it a lot of times. I learn through mistakes. That was my number one factor. So that's why I also give you the positivity in these videos of saying your mistakes are your biggest learning tools. Okay, more so than watching. Of course, you have to balance it with watching my videos in terms of you need the education, you need the theory, but your experiences and your mistakes and losses will be a bigger teacher at the end of the day. And that's why I urge you all to practice. And of course, you can practice on demo and things like that, but you need to lock in that experience. You need to make those mistakes and you need to journal and learn from them. That's exactly what I've done. I've said it so many times, but I speak to you today as a trader let's just say very successful. I have been very successful. I've made a lot of wealth from this, right? The multi-millions, I've done it all sort of things. So speak for a level of understanding of the markets. And, I've had those sleepless nights. I remember it, the nights where I couldn't get my mind off trading. I've had those waking up feeling sick of missing the trades, feeling sick of taking stupid trades. And, I know the emotions, and that is that I use now to my advantage of knowing all of those mistakes, knowing the psychology of how I felt. I use that now to my advantage, and I'm so happy that I went through those sad times and those hard times, because it really made me the trader I am today. And so I will always be thankful for that. And so, yeah, my final words on Solana, and then we'll look at Bonk, is I think that we're coming up to a key resistance. Maybe this might be my first short trade that I'll take. And I will say this, it's very much going to be a reactionary based trade. Okay, so for me, the reaction is very key. I might lock in a head short for the first time during this pump to the upside. Between 142, and I would really say to 157. But again, this is making its way down. So it's slightly a zone between 142 to 152, more likely, right? But that for me is a key zone on Solana that I will be ready and waiting for. Next, I want to bring your attention. So I hope that all makes sense, right? Where I'm looking for that key resistance and where I'm looking for a key support should we drop, and how I would love to be in a position where I have a long from the low and short from the high. That would be very happy for me on Solana. And so, yeah, do I think we can put in a major low? Absolutely. Solana looks wonderful there with that low. But we need to get a reclaim of 157 before I expect extreme pumps. Well, until that happens, this is a major resistance and I'm not getting carried away. Of course, we can reject there and come down to new lows. That is a key level of resistance. So likewise, when I'm sharing, trades such as Solana here, I was also looking at this wonderful Bonk trade setup. And I actually took this one. We actually ended up getting a very small SFP, which did not stop me out of any trade. But the reason why I like Bonk here so much and why I was looking at this long trade setup is because, let me load it up a second. I feel it's in like this max opportunity where Bonk basically, if it breaks down from here, and I had my stop loss set at 880, sorry. And my stop loss literally missed by about 0.5%, so I was very happy. But nevertheless, this trade is at the maximum opportunity in terms of if this trade fails, I think Bonk can drop, one of these coins that drops 97% to the downside, dies. I don't think there's no support here. It is just like the max potential in terms of if this level had lost, I think the coin dies and it's just over. But if the coin finds support from that maximum opportunity of biggest loss possible versus, even back up to the range high is 500%. Even the pump that we've got here, this is, have a guess how much this is. This is a 50% pump to the upside, my friends. This is insane. 58% pump to the upside. Like that's crazy. And And I will say, by the way, on Bonk, because of how well kind of lucky I got, I have closed 50% of this trade. So I haven't done so, I haven't done bad, but I have closed 50% of the trade actually on this wick as we took out the highs. I was a little bit cautious, but nevertheless, I closed 50% of the long here on Bonk. Not the end of the world. I mean, we're back down below that, but yeah. I recognize Bonk has a lot of potential, but it also is like it could die if it loses 0.088. So for me, these lows. For me, then it would be kind of game over. I think you can see here the stop loss, 8807. Low actually coming in 8845. All right, so very close. But nevertheless, this is like your final opportunity, and here you can see where you got the retest, which would have been your your ultimate entry, and then from there you got a respectable 50% pump to the upside. So I don't want to spend too long on Bonk because I think it's very simple. This is an incredibly important support level. If lost, I think Bonk has a very bad time, a massive drop to the downside. It can be a coin that dies, but if it holds up here, then it is in this opportunity of back up to the highs is 500%. We're ultimately viewing it as a range then, aren't we? So this is range low. You can see you had the value area low, back above the point of control. While this maintains, we can be looking for it to make its way back up to the highs. Of course, be aware, as always, of this major resistance that you have at that value area high. But essentially, I'm viewing it as a range. Range low, that's going to be our high. Can be our low, back up to the high. But if we are to lose the range low, I think Bonk has a very, very, very bad time. Even from here to our last period of consolidation for a high volume node is a 50%, 60, 50% drop to the downside, right? So take a lot of caution. This is of course you have a stop loss, so you're never going to get wrecked on it. But, it's a coin that if loses support, very big move to the downside, in my opinion. Key resistance, of course, sits around that value area high. This is a simple, when it comes to trading a range, here's the range that we have on, range low, range high, range low, would be nice, range high. But if you lose that support, massive move to the downside. But you go from, simple theories such as trading that range to theories looking at the psychology when it comes to those big round psychological numbers, liquidity on, important levels of confluence, and at the end of the day, that's how you lock in your longs, right? And that Bonk long was taken on a different account, by the way. But and look at the funding rate here on Solana. So this is a funding rate that pays longs, by the way. So it's very easy to remain patient in those longs. During the past few weeks, I've paid $5 overall in funding. So that's really, really insignificant, right? So it's very easy to hold on to longs when you see this funding rate. So that's another factor you can pay attention to. The funding rate is a very nice heads up of the directional moves. So I think that's pretty much everything that I wanted to cover for you all here. I hope that you've enjoyed the video. I've shared with you a few little nice tips and tricks, giving you insights into how I approach the market, how I am trading the market, what I'll be looking for next on Solana. That was the main focus of the video, Solana. And yeah, Bitcoin within this tight little range, but would be nice to get a break soon. Of course, my preference is a move to the upside, but let's wait and see. I'm not going to get carried away. This is still super low volume range right now. And so, yeah, I truly hope that you've enjoyed this video. Half an hour, wow. I said in my previous video, I want to try and get my videos down to 10 minutes. And every comment was, please don't do that. We enjoy listening to your longer videos. So I hope you've enjoyed listening to a longer video once again. If you have, I would just honestly appreciate a thumbs up, maybe sharing this video with some friends that are looking to get into trading, that need to see the light of how to take these trades. And if you want to be involved on this, rather than looking at the profits, but making profits, well, get yourself over to Chart Champions and start learning, right? It's a game changer. I hope and pray that you have a blessed weekend. Of course, you have Easter Sunday tomorrow, so I hope that you will have a wonderful, 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 wonderful time. And praise God. Thank you ever so much. I hope you've enjoyed, and that is now me signing out of this video. Cheers, everybody. Thank you, and I'll maybe see you over in the Discord. Cheers, and goodbye.